BSSS Rhythm. BSSS Rhythm. BSSS Rhythm.
BSSS Rhythm the इंटरनेशनल ऑनलाइन रेडियो पर मैं हूँ आरजे मुस्कान। शो चल रहा है बातों का अड्डा और आज हमारे बीच मौजूद हैं एक बेहद ही स्पेशल गेस्ट। जी हाँ, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द वाइस चांसलर ऑफ Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication and the former Director General of the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Delhi, K G Suresh, sir. Sir, it's absolutely an honor for all of us to host you in the studio.
Same here. The pleasure is entirely mine.
And sir, as we all already know, and as you know, we're all very excited. So the very first question that, pops up in my head is that how did the entire journey begin?
Oh God.
How did the idea of, pursuing journalism cross your mind?
Well, my father used to be a voracious newspaper reader.
Okay.
So every day he would not just read the paper. In fact, he used to take a pen along with him.
Right.
And he would underline all the important things.
Wow.
So I got curious.
Right.
I was still in middle school. Mm-hmm. I started reading. What is he into?
Okay.
And then started writing letters to the editor.
Wow.
It used to give me a lot of excitement when my letters used to appear in leading newspapers like the Hindustan Times.
Right.
And then people started discussing it in my social circle, family circle.
Right.
People would say that, oh, this boy's name is... Because those days people did not have much of entertainment options.
Right.
So they would all be reading the newspaper from the headline to the,
the last
footprint.
Line, right.
Yeah, the print line.
Right.
So they used to call up and say, "Arey, your son's letter has got into print."
Right.
So this used to be it encouraged me further.
Right.
And one of my, I would say, one of the persons who really inspired me was my English teacher, Mr. Virender Gupta, who was my teacher in senior secondary. He passed away recently. Okay. May his soul rest in peace. But he was somebody who inculcated a love for English literature.
Right. And
I went on to take BA Honours in English Literature from the University of Delhi.
Wow.
So all this, obviously, the command over the language and all that, obviously, naturally took me to journalism.
Right.
But then I used to write extensively for magazines like Teenager, magazines like Evening News.
Okay.
Then gradually I shifted to journalism. But this is how it all began. Yeah.
Also, as you mentioned, English literature, I am really curious to know, how does literature actually, change a person? What impact does literature or the study of literature has on, the society and the student who is pursuing
Absolutely.
It to be
I read global literature, world literature.
Okay.
And it gave me a global perspective.
Right.
Otherwise, I am a Delhi boy.
Right.
So this whole concept about the world, the exposure to Greek literature, to exposure to Shakespearean literature,
which is very
that
diverse.
In a way expanded your horizons
Absolutely.
like anything, and it gave you command over the language, and I think that it improved your vocabulary. It improved your understanding of the world,
right?
And it took you to the next level.
Right.
So I think that English literature that way made me, I think that a much more liberal person,
right?
Much more large-hearted, I would say.
Right.
So whether it is English or Hindi or any literature,
any language,
literature actually, really helps in evolving you as a human being.
Absolutely.
That's important.
I completely see the point. Also, sir, as we were reading before this interview, I could find that your father wanted you to become a civil servant.
Oh God. You have done extensive research. My father himself was a government,
right.
He was the Deputy Director General of Foreign Trade.
Okay.
And he wanted me to be a, civil servant.
Right.
But somehow I felt that I am not made for that.
Right.
I wanted to do something more exciting than sitting in some bhavan all my life. Some Shastri bhavan, some Nirman bhavan.
Right.
My father used to sit in Udyog Bhavan.
Okay.
So I felt that, I wanted to go out, explore the world.
Right.
I wanted to meet people. I was a different kind of person.
Right. Had a
Even as a
different bent of mind.
child,
Right.
I never used to stay at home.
Okay.
I used to have a lot of friends. I used to come late
Right.
back home, and then, so I was always an extrovert.
Right.
And I felt that, the very idea of getting, sitting amidst files, government files, was something very scary for me.
Right.
So I thought that I should, it was not well received even
Right. I
within
read
the
that
family.
too. Right.
Even within the family,
Right.
it was not well received. But
But then you joined PTI.
PTI came at a later stage.
Right.
I started off with small magazines.
Okay.
One of my friends was unfortunately murdered
Okay.
for whatever reason, maybe a robbery.
Right.
But then his brother came from Kolkata, and he asked me to, take charge of the magazine. I
Right.
was young, I had no experience,
Right.
but he made me the editor at maybe at 24 or something
Okay.
like that. I had a big staff working
Right.
for me, and that was a
And you the
very
boss.
specific,
Right.
trade-specific journal.
Okay.
It was oil and natural gas.
Okay.
It was one of the leading journals of that time, Urja,
Okay.
and I became its editor.
Mm-hmm.
And but gradually later it shut down. Then I went to another magazine,
Right.
and subsequently I realized that I'm working in a I've taken a path where there is no destination.
Right.
Because these small magazines will give you a big feel
Mm-hmm.
that you are the editor, you are the associate editor, but it won't take you anywhere.
Right.
You will remain in your comfort zone.
True.
But I had to learn so much. So then this PTI opportunity came.
Right.
And imagine, from an editor, I came down to a sub-editor training.
Okay.
And from 5,000 rupees salary,
Mm-hmm.
that was a princely sum those days,
Right.
to 2,200 rupees was my first salary in PTI.
PTI.
2,200.
Right.
I started with 1,000 rupees.
Mm-hmm.
Then I came to Urja, and then by business fair I was already drawing 5,000.
Okay.
But I came down to 2,200.
Right.
I realized that if I have to learn,
Right.
because I always tell my students also, recently also during the farewell
Right.
get together, I told my students that in your initial years, don't go for the money.
Go for the experience.
First go for the experience.
Right.
Once you get the experience, money will start chasing you.
Right.
You don't have to chase money.
Right.
But if you become money minded at the beginning of your career,
Mm-hmm.
then it won't take you far.
Right.
So I was very clear about it, that I
Right.
wanted to gain it. And PTI changed my life forever.
Right.
It took me to the world.
Mm-hmm. Also, sir, as you mentioned that the decision of, dropping the government services and then joining journalism was not very well received by your parents. And this is a fact that, even today, journalism is not considered as a very conventional profession by many parents. So how do
Because
you
there are
take it?
insecurities involved.
Right.
Parents want their children to be secure. But where is security today?
Right.
I think even in government,
Mm-hmm.
now even in army, it is only 4 years. So where is the security? So I think that this is a false notion that we are having.
Mm-hmm.
Contract has become a reality.
Right.
And even in government service, you can be chucked out.
Right.
Those pensions and all those things are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have the NPS in government also.
Right.
The new pension scheme. So retired life, pension, that's all gone,
Right.
The age limit, we used to consider oneself retired and ready for departure at 60.
Right.
Today the longevity of life has increased. Today it is 80, 90.
True.
So people work for another 30 years after retirement.
Right.
So I think that these are very meaningless things.
Right.
If you have capability,
Mm-hmm.
then that is your security. Your best security is your competence, your capability.
Absolutely.
If you have that, you can tide over the worst of times.
Right.
And even if you are, if you don't have that,
Right.
no security would be of any help to you.
Right. I completely agree with you, sir. A senior journalist and a prominent figure in Indian journalism, sir has actually shaped and played a pivotal role in shaping diverse minds across India. Sir, I would really like you to, shed some light over how journalism has changed over the passage of time in India.
Well, I think journalism by and large has not changed. It is the technology that has changed.
Okay.
Journalism remains almost the same.
Right.
Only the technology, the platforms have changed.
Right.
Yes. If there is a change, I see that today there are two things which are missing in journalism.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, we used to have a lot of investigative stories.
Right.
Even today, there are, because I am still on the jury of several awards.
Right.
I know I go through a lot of stories.
Okay.
There are, but they are, not. I would say that they are not up to the mark.
Okay.
And they are not investigative. They are investigative stories,
Right.
but it's no more mainstream.
Okay.
Some media platforms are doing stories,
Right.
but majority of the media is not doing investigative reporting.
Right.
Second, earlier we used to have this concept of campaign journalism or crusade journalism,
Okay.
where you would take up a particular issue
Mm-hmm.
and then follow it, chase it to the logical conclusion.
Okay.
Today that's not there.
That's missing, right?
Today you don't have newspapers taking up a campaign.
Right.
Okay. For example, jail reforms.
Right.
So you need journalism to take up these issues,
Right.
Or roads, bad roads in the city.
Right.
So there should be a sustained campaign.
Mm-hmm.
There may be one story or two story, but that's not a campaign.
Right.
Campaign is that let us ensure that it gets improved.
Right.
There are so many things which are going wrong,
Right.
but there is no campaign journalism.
Right.
I still don't know why in Delhi, for example, despite spending thousands of crores, Yamuna is a nala, basically a drain.
Right.
Okay. Why no media is taking a sustained campaign to ensure that the local government has been promising that we will have a Yamuna riverfront and stuff like that.
Right.
If in Bhopal they can do wonders with Bada Talab,
Right.
I'm sure that this is only a state capital. Why can't the national capital do it,
True.
But it's all, you still find froth,
Right.
so much of pollution in River Yamuna.
True.
The national capital. Look at River Thames in London.
Right.
You can't even compare. So, where are those crusades and campaigns? We have become very political.
Right.
We are obsessed with politics.
True.
So, politics for change is good.
Right.
But politics in it, how is it going to make a difference?
Right.
That's important.
Exactly. And journalism should actually aim to, bring about a change in the society.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, sir, what do you think about yellow journalism?
Yellow
Which
journalism has been there for
Right.
a long time.
Right. Nothing
Right
new.
from the British times,
Absolutely.
Even the first few journals used to indulge in blackmail, indulge in a lot of character assassinations.
Right.
These have always been there, and today they are now acquired a digital platform.
Right.
They have become trolls. They have become whatnot. So as I said, the technology has changed, but these would always be there
Right.
because all kinds of elements are there.
Right.
Journalism per se in our country, anybody and everybody can become a journalist.
Right. Right.
There are no qualifications to become mandatory qualifications to become a journalist.
Right.
Right.
But what are the skills that you feel are important?
For a journalist?
Yes. To develop or to, already have.
First of all, I think that he should have this attitude of being a learner all his life.
Right.
I still continue to believe that I have so much to learn.
Right.
Okay. Today I've come to, I said that I've never visited.
Right.
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 So one of the major attractions of coming to your program was to see your college. I loved it, the way,
Right.
of meeting you, young people.
Right.
So one should always be curious. The moment you have this attitude that I know everything,
Right.
That is the end of your growth as a human being, as a journalist.
Right.
That's number one. Number two is that, as I said, that you should be a voracious reader.
Right.
You should have this quest for knowledge,
Right.
acquiring more and more knowledge. You should have analytical skills.
Right.
You should have command over the language, whichever, Hindi, English, Malayalam, Marathi, Tamil,
Right.
you name it,
Right.
you should have. And at the end of the day, I think the most important quality, if you ask me, is that you should be a sensitive human being.
Right.
If you want to be a successful journalist, you need to be a sensitive human being.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, successful not in terms of you're getting as many awards, and that's not, for me, that's not the criteria.
Definition, right.
Can you make a difference to the life of even one individual other than your family member or relative or a friend? Somebody, a totally unknown person, can you make a difference to his or her life? I think that then your life as a journalist has become meaningful, relevant, successful.
Absolutely. Also, sir, what do you think? How has journalism evolved as a career in India?
Well, I think that those were the days when you had journalists who were being looked at as furniture, poor, impoverished, with a jhola and a kolhapuri chappal.
Yeah, that was that image.
That was the image,
Right.
I think today journalists in good organizations are well paid.
Right.
They are taken care of. And they're highly paid journalists also.
Right.
So that way, yes, it has evolved. But what has gone wrong is that journalist has become it's no more the journalist who is calling the shots.
Okay.
It is the marketing, it is the commercial team of the media. So journalism is being tailored according to the target audience and needs of the market.
Right.
Journalism is no more the journalism where you used to write it for the betterment of the lives of people.
Right.
Today, profit, TRP driven profit, that's become more important than making a difference to the lives of the people.
True. Well, I completely see the point. Also, sir, how important is to, separate the wheat from the chaff when it comes to journalism? What do you think?
In terms of good and bad?
Yes.
Well, it's very important that we have to understand. That's why I have always been calling for a national media literacy mission.
Okay.
People should know how media functions.
Right.
Unfortunately, we are getting carried away by a lot of stuff.
Right.
Which is misleading. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation.
Right.
What you call infodemic, which is worse than the pandemic. People are getting misled.
Right.
All kinds of propaganda is there. So what is happening is that people are not getting the correct information.
Right.
It's important that people are able to distinguish between information and propaganda.
Right.
So, because there are a lot of players who are there. They include fanatics, they include fundamentalists,
Right.
they include separatists, anti-social, anti-national. All kinds of forces are out there.
Right.
We should not become victims of misinformation and disinformation.
Right.
So I think that people need to be trained right from the school level itself, because students, youngsters are getting exposed to media like never before.
Right.
Even very young children are being given mobile phones.
Right.
They are getting exposed to a lot of information, maybe for which they are not prepared.
Right.
So, you have a certification,
Right.
UA adult,
Right.
You know,
Right.
Similarly, but media content, there is no such certification. There is no, and so even if 5-year-old would be exposed to pornography,
Right.
would be exposed to a lot of stuff. Is he or she mentally prepared
For
to
that,
accept
right.
that? How can parents moderate it, the content? How can the governments moderate the content?
Right.
How can civil society moderate the content? These are questions which need to be addressed.
Right.
Because a young child is perhaps not even aware
Right.
of what is good or what is bad. So we need to teach them, like we teach them about good touch and bad touch.
Right.
Similarly, we need to teach them about good content and bad content.
Right. As you mentioned about schools, I feel that media literacy in schools is only, introduced or imparted to the students in the form of seminars and, projects,
I think
but not
it's-
taken in a full-fledged way. So what do you have to say on that?
I think it should be, kind of part of the curriculum.
Right. That is very important.
Yes.
All right, sir. Also, as you came, you enlightened all of us about the difference between a community and a campus radio. So I would really like you to, shed some light on the same again for our listeners and viewers.
Yes. Campus radio is basically meant for the students
Okay.
of the campus, wherever it is. It
Right.
could be a university or a college campus.
Right.
It's generally run by students.
Okay.
Of course, there are teachers and there could be permanent staff also who would be
Right.
helping them out
Right.
with production and other stuff.
Right.
But the idea of a community radio is that it caters to the local community.
Okay.
It caters to the demands of the local community. It is
Right.
of the community, for the community, and by the community.
Right.
So even the producers of the program are trained from the local community.
Right.
Even the content is meant for the local community.
Right.
So what is the local community? So if you have a 12 to 15 kilometers radius, so the program is meant for that audience,
Right.
not for your campus or for your, limited. It's not a limited
Right.
audience.
Right.
So it's meant for that 12.5 kilometers or 15 kilometers. Sometimes if your tower is located on a higher platform, it can even reach up to 20 or 25 kilometers. When I was DG IMC, I used to be on the Aravali Hills.
Wow.
So mine would go from, if you're familiar with Delhi, from
Right.
Najafgarh to Noida.
Okay.
My range used to be almost 25 to 30 kilometers. So we prepared programs accordingly.
Right.
We had a couple of permanent staff,
Right.
but it was the community which was involved. They would come to the studios, they would take part.
Right.
So the campus radio is basically meant for the students of the campus.
Okay, sir.
So the program would be, so that is
Right. Also, as you shared and as we already told that you were the DG of IIMC Delhi, how was that experience?
Well, I have been teaching at Indian Institute of Mass Communication since 1998.
Okay.
So I knew that institute very well.
Right.
So this opportunity came when I was heading Doordarshan News.
Okay.
I was the senior editor with Doordarshan News, senior
Okay.
consulting editor. And it was during that time that I got this offer of becoming the DG, and my teaching experience came handy
Right.
in my selection
Right.
as Director General.
Right.
It's a different institution. It's an international institution of the.
Obviously.
It is what
One of the most
IIM is
premier
for.
institute in
It is
India.
what IIM is for management. IIT is
Exactly.
for
IIMC is
technology.
for journalism.
IMC is for journalism
Right.
and mass communication. We have 6 campuses
Okay.
from north to south:
Right.
Jammu, Amravati, Dhenkanal,
Right.
Kottayam, Mizoram.
Mm-hmm.
We had all these campuses,
Right.
and I gave a major push to language journalism there.
Right.
I started Marathi journalism program
Wow.
from Amravati campus,
Mm-hmm.
Malayalam journalism from Kerala campus.
Right.
I acquired land for IIMC both in Jammu and in Amravati.
Okay.
In Jammu, the Honorable Prime Minister, I invited him to lay the foundation stone.
Right.
I completed 2 campuses,
Right.
one in Kottayam in Kerala, another in Azol, Mizoram.
Okay.
So these 2 campuses were built by me. And I set up the community radio empowerment. It was a very hectic 3-year tenure.
Right.
I turned it into a deemed to be university.
Right.
So, it was a great experience.
Absolutely. That
Even yesterday I was there. I was invited by the current DG to be there, and I released one of their books recently published. I was in Delhi only.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so that could be made out that the experience was really vibrant and good. Also, sir, as you mentioned about IIMC, I would like you to guide the students who are preparing for the entrance of the same. How to go ahead with the preparation?
Well, right now, except for the language programs, as far as I know, IIMC is now part of the CUET, Central University Entrance Test, and it is the national testing agency which is conducting their IMC entrance examination is over now, except for the language programs, Marathi, Malayalam, Odia. Except these, they have stopped it. So now it is CUET. But yes, as per the for mass communication, you require. It's a PG program. It's a PG diploma. IMC doesn't have PG programs, postgraduate programs. They only have diploma. They don't have UG programs also. So it's a 1-year diploma program where you spend almost 9 months at the institute. That's it. And you have to. It's your language skills, your analytical skills, and your general awareness, which is most important. So students should focus on these 3 to qualify for IIMC.
All right, sir. It was really an amazing experience for all of us, for our listeners, for our viewers, for me as well.
Thank you so much.
Eventually, sir, I would like you to, share how was your experience with BSSS Rhythm.
Good experience, very courteous staff, warm welcome, and I think that Muskan means smile. And from the moment I have seen you, you have been smiling. And I think this is one great quality of an anchor, of a RJ, that you should be very pleasant. And I think that I have had a very pleasant experience. Your questions were very probing, very informative, which could extract the best of, from any respondent. So I'm sure that जो हमारे श्रोता हैं BSSS रिदम के जो श्रोता है उनको इस कार्यक्रम का लाभ मिला होगा, और आगे भी वो सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से, यूट्यूब के माध्यम से, ट्विटर के माध्यम से, कू के माध्यम से, फेसबुक के माध्यम से मुझसे जुड़े रह सकते हैं. धन्यवाद.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a pleasure for us to host you. All right, listeners, I will be back very soon with another guest. Till then, take good care of yourselves and see you soon.
BSSS Rhythm. BSSS Rhythm. BSSS Rhythm.